Didn't see you there. I guess we're live. We're live like right now, live.
Wow, that was fast.
That was fast. Life moves quickly here on YouTube, my friend.
I don't move so quickly anymore. Hey, got a new mug.
Coffee makes me poop. Well, that's good. That does sum up a certain truth, doesn't it?
Phoenix is after getting me all the weirdest mugs she can. Phoenix being my daughter. She's my caretaker, my
I think I need a caretaker myself. My girlfriend, I don't know if she realizes she's officially in that role, but maybe she does. I don't know. I think you're chopping up on me, Mr. Hudson, or on us, on the group.
Well, it seems my internet's now ran by ERCOT. It flashes in and out. It's been horrible lately. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I know that when I am streaming and my kid is here, I'll ask her not to be online when I'm doing this because it takes up bandwidth. That's what I see. Now I think I messed up my camera, and I want to. All right, so that's a little bit straighter. I don't know. I think I got up and messed my camera up.
That was really sweet of D. Setting in the frog.
Yeah, the frog was pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I watched you unbox it. It was I knew what it was. I didn't know what it looked like, but I heard her mention one day in chat about the frog, and I'm like, it's a frog.
Yeah.
You got a good fan base.
Yeah, very good people. Very good people. Kind, good-hearted folks that watch the channel. Definitely. I feel lucky.
That's one of the things I like about your program is it's human.
John, I need a translator, brother. I have to tell you. Maybe we should just do Morse code.
I was just saying that, I love your program. It's more humorist than atheist. And I mean, I can appreciate the two, but I love the human side of you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. What's up, Simply Secular Dave?
Morning, Dave.
You're muting yourself, sir. Yeah, mute. This is the part of the show, everyone, where we look at other people put on. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, sorry. I rebooted my machine last night because I was setting up this truck driving simulator thing that I'm, taking that truck training.
Yeah.
So I bought a truck driving simulator so that I can practice stuff that I need to do. And apparently it switched back over to my headset on.
So do they give you a steering wheel?
Well, I have a steering wheel and a shifter and pedals. Like
oh, dude.
The whole, what is this? It's a 920 something. It's a Logitech 920.
Right.
Yeah. So I have it set up so that it's an H shifter. So it has 6 shifts plus reverse. Yep. So I have it set up so that second and fourth are forward and back to simulate the automatic. So it goes like drive, neutral, reverse. Mm-hmm. So it's actually a pretty good simulator for driving the truck, especially when you're backing up using mirrors with the tandem axles and stuff like that. It's pretty damn tricky when you're handling a big truck like that.
So are we talking like an 18-wheeler truck?
Yeah, tractor trailer.
Tractor trailer. Okay. Yeah. I would be that I imagine you would have to somehow train your brain to understand what the dimensions are in space of that vehicle.
The problem for me is, sorry, I moved my camera too because my monitor's up a little higher now.
Sure.
The problem for me is I used to drive a pickup truck, like a regular size pickup truck with a 21 foot trailer on it. But in a regular pickup, you can just turn around and look over your shoulder and see what you're doing.
Yeah.
So everything's reversed, but you're looking the other direction. So when you're steering back and forth. Now, driving a truck that's big enough to put a 45-foot container on, you're talking 68 feet long. So where your back wheels are is way out of proportion with driving a center axle trailer for forklifts and boats and stuff like that. So it's way the hell back there, and you have to use the mirrors. So it's like reversed and reversed again. It's a weird situation. It messes with your brain, and you have to practice to get your head around it.
Sure.
But basically, every time you turn the steering wheel, you're going the wrong direction.
Sweet. Theo asks, is the weight limit in Canada the same as the USA, 40 tons?
I have no idea. I'm not going for my class 1. I'm actually a longshoreman, and I'm training to drive what they call the intermodal tractor trailers, the tugs on the dock. So these are the containers themselves weigh about 32,400 pounds, 32,800 pounds. The trailers weigh about 50,000 pounds, and I'm sure the trucks are quite heavy as well. But the container loads vary from 30 to 50,000 pounds. So there's a hell of a lot of weight. If there's one thing these trucks are really good at, it's stopping. When you're bobtailing, if you're driving around without anything on the back and you actually push the brake pedal down without just like tapping it to stop, you'll hit the windshield pretty hard with your face.
Yikes.
These things have stellar brakes on them.
Right.
And the rail trucks, the trailers are actually far more substantial and heavy. And they have the automatic system where you back into the kingpin, and they have like a very, very expensive system that locks up the air and the electric when you back into these trailers. So the trailers cost about an extra $50,000, and the tractors that have these lift systems on them cost about another $150,000. So it's a very expensive proposition to wreck one of these. You want to be extremely careful.
And how long did you say the training was for?
It's not a specific number of days.
Okay.
They the classroom training and the initial like get out there and see if you can actually drive this thing in a circle and a figure eight and park it and back it up is just one day. And if you don't make it through that day, you don't make it anywhere.
Wow.
And then there's on the dock training, and it varies person to person, skill level to skill level. So it could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks. It depends on the trainer.
Right.
Yeah. But it's not like I said, it's not a class 1. I wouldn't legally be allowed to drive a tractor trailer at Kenworth on the street, or a Freightliner or whatever brand Mack truck. And they're all automatics. There's a computer controlled system that you have to learn, and there's a map system of which lanes you drive which way on the dock. So that's a huge part of the training, is knowing how to pull up to a rubber tire gantry or a reach stacker or a crane, how you position, how they communicate with you to center, or if you're too far forward, how do they, they have a horn blower, they call it. So they could say, hey, can you back up? But normally what they do is they just have a little horn, and they like beep twice for you to back up, and then beep once for you to stop. And then the other way around, if you're too close, they beep once for you to pull forward, and then once again for you to stop. So there's a whole system on the dock of how to make things run efficiently. And your job as the truck driver is to put the container in the most convenient place so that it's easy to pick up, easy to move, easy to place where it needs to go. And it has to move the least amount of feet on each piece of equipment, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
There's a whole dynamic to driving on the dock that's irrelevant to driving on the street. But there's a whole bunch of stuff about driving on the street that is just completely ignored because you'll never come across it on the dock.
Well, it sounds like it's very precise driving. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and all the trucks are limited to 30 kilometers an hour. And I hate to say it, but there's been accidents on the dock with these trucks since I've been working there. This year, there's been 2.
Have trucks run into each other?
One dock truck ran into a rail truck, and it was completely the dock. Like they ran into the back end, the back corner of the truck. So they were on their phone doing something stupid, completely their fault.
Yeah.
And another one just wasn't watching where he was going and drove up onto a median at the fuel station.
No, that's not good.
Which is never good, never ever good. So they didn't damage the trucks enough to take them out of commission, right? But you don't want to put a dent in one of these things and have your name written on it.
So. No, you don't. D. Park says, I used to work for a multinational trucking company.
Yeah.
Wow. So it sounds like from what you're saying is that you don't have to clutch. It's an automatic transmission.
Right. Yeah. They don't want to train everyone to drive a stick. However, when we drive, like sometimes I get dispatched to the car ships. I don't think we have one on today, but you get to drive everything: electric cars, hybrid cars, regular transmission cars, push button automatics, and the like standards with paddle shift, like everything. So you get into a car and you might know, okay, these are all Mazdas or these are all Hyundais, or
right.
But that's about it. You get in the car and the whole thing's covered in plastic. You're in the in the hold of a ship, which isn't very brightly lit. And you're looking around like, does it have a clutch pedal? Where's the e-brake? Is it a button e-brake? Is it on the left, the right, the console? Is it back here on the, so you get to learn a lot of new cars. But the trucks are all the same, so that anyone can get in any different truck any day of the week and drive the truck. They're all laid out the same.
Well, that's smart.
And they're all automatics.
So I'm going to ask you a stupid question. The e-brake, is that like a special safety brake?
Emergency brake?
Oh, yeah, emergency brake.
Yeah, e-brake. Yeah.
All right.
So on an air brake truck, it's a button on the dash. In a car, there's a yellow button for the trailer brake. There's a red button for the truck brake. And what that does is it just drains the air out of the system so that the brakes are locked shut.
Oh, sure.
But on cars, they call it a parking brake, an emergency brake, some of the cars even use them as a hill brake. So when you hill start in a standard in some of the new pickup trucks, they actually engage that brake for a fraction of a second until the clutch reaches a certain point and starts moving the vehicle, and then it disengages so that you don't roll back.
Is that cheating, Dave?
It's totally cheating. Yeah. If you can't drive on a hill, you shouldn't be in a stick, for sure. Yeah.
You are correct, sir.
I'm old school when it comes to driving a standard. That's why I bought this. This steering wheel and shifter actually has a clutch pedal on it for when I drive for Forza and the driving games and that, because I'm old school. But yeah,
really good.
But it is fun. I mean, I've done a lot of driving in my life, and some of it professionally. Like I said, I've driven a trailer for a living before. So I don't find it horrendously boring. Most people do. It's like when I'm doing data analytics. How can you sit in front of a computer for 16 hours and look at numbers? I don't know.
I can't.
Yeah. I have a funny story about driving a stick, but I can't tell it on air.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's one of those stories.
Andy, I drove I think it was a 1.8 liter 1986 Ford Escort, not a GT, but a 4-speed.
Yep.
I drove it 1,735 kilometers in one day.
How? Why?
I used to live at a building called Melrose Place. Yeah, named after the TV show. And it wasn't far from here. It's about 10 blocks farther away from the border than I am now. And I drove from there to Vallejo, California. And my girlfriend at the time, bless her little heart, she said, "It's really early and I'm still tired. Do you want to drive down to the border?" I said, "Yeah." So I get us to the border. She goes, "Well, why don't you drive through the border? Because I don't want to talk to the border agent and that. You're more familiar." Because my sister lived in the States, so I used to go down there all the time.
Sure.
So I drive through the border. So we get down on the I-5 and we stop in the States, fill up for gas, get some coffee. We're driving along. And I said, rest area, do you want to drive for a little while? She goes, well, you know the shortcut through Seattle. There's a Seattle bypass.
I can see where this story is going, Dave. This is not, yeah.
So I drive through there. We get down into California. It starts raining. It's a 4-lane highway, the I-5, and there's cops going by us at 120 miles an hour. There's C trains. So there's tractor trailers with 3 trailers on the back, and they're passing us at 100 miles an hour. And she says, I'm not really comfortable driving here. So we get down into the mountains of Northern California, and she's not comfortable driving up in the hills by the mountains. And then we get down into Vallejo, and I said, well, you know where we're going. Do you want to drive to your uncle's house? And she's like, well, I'm going to navigate because I know where it is. You can just drive. So 4 fuel and coffee stops. And I literally left when it was dark here and arrived when it was dark there.
I got to tell you, I have a similar story, but completely different. So we were driving out to New Mexico from Boston, from the Boston area. And I was with, this is back in the day, this is back in the 80s. And I was dating my, John just popped off. So it was, we had 3 people in my hatchback car, no air conditioning. It was August. No radio either, because you might not know this about me, Dave and chat, but I'm really cheap. And
Frugal?
I'm frugal. That's what I am. I'm frugal. Scottish, maybe. So, yeah, there's no radio. There's no air conditioning besides the windows. You know, we brought a little boombox in with us. We brought a radio, tape player. But so it was myself, my buddy Mike Duggan, who's a really talented artist. He's been on the channel a couple of times. He's an author and an artist. And my boyfriend, Max. Now, Max is a great guy. He had a couple of personality disorders. Really talented, though. See, this is good, right? So now you get to see, you get to hear a dysfunctional story about one of Andy's relationships, but this person just happened to have a penis. See, so that's the benefit of this story. So,
just a couple of them, right? Well, there's a couple of.
So it's just me and Mike. Basically, we're doing all the driving. And we're down, I think we were in Kentucky at the time. And Max was pulling this, I don't want to drive kind of stuff. And you may not know this about me, but there are times I snap, crackle, and pop. Like I just, I hit my fucking moment. And so we were doing a rest stop at a strip mall. Like I said, I think it was in Kentucky, somewhere down there. It's like, look at, you're either going to drive or you're going to take the bus home. And
I hope you wore some good sneakers, my friend, because if you ain't driving, you ain't staying in the car.
and he's like, well, I'll just take a bus then. It's like, get your stuff out of the car. Because this is where I draw the line. This is where I draw the line.
You're part of the team or you're not on the team bus.
Yeah, really. And this is the thing. As I've gotten older, my policy of either you're on the team or off the team has gotten more. It's gotten crystallized. That's what it is. It's gotten harder, I think. But he decided that he didn't want to take a bus back home from Kentucky, so he decided he was going to drive. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to be the type of uncle who teaches children that lesson. Like, hey, we're going to go clean up the yard. I don't want to clean up the yard. Well, you don't have to clean up the yard. Oh, okay, I'll stay inside. And then when I clean up the yard and fill the pool and everyone starts playing in the pool, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Did you clean up the yard? No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can play in the pool tomorrow.
Yeah.
What? Life's little lessons for the children.
This is Dave time right now.
There I am with my floaty chair and my beer, soaking up the rays.
And to tell you the truth, it's kind of better without the kids.
Yeah. The only rule we have in the pool is no splashing in the face.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I'm surprised that you being a danger, and I don't want to typify you or characterize you as a danger-centered person. but I've noticed that we have 2 different types of stories, right? My stories is basically about psychological dysfunction.
Can't narrow it down that far, but yeah, okay.
And your stories seem to be resolving around, I don't know how I lived through this, you know? So
well, I know how, because I know how the story ends.
Yes. But statistically speaking, you know, you look at, you hear the stories and you're like, wow, I don't know how Dave made it this far. But the splashing in the face, I imagine that the splashing in the face rule came due to an incident with one of your with one of the kids.
Well, you know, it's never good to get splashed in the face. And if mommy or auntie happens to be wearing makeup or mascara,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that's just a bad scene for them. So, you know, there's just a lot of reasons not to splash people in the face. But we were at church camp, and I have a big super soaker. And at the time, I had an even bigger, better super soaker.
Yeah.
So I have a nephew and I have 3 nieces. So my nephew said, "Can I borrow the squirt gun? We're having a water fight." Squirt gun, he calls it. Yeah. Can I borrow the
just
hose?
for people who don't know what these are the huge bazooka-like weapons,
Yeah.
right?
It was a good 30 inches long, and it carried like half a gallon of water.
Sure.
He could barely hold it. I mean, I pumped it up for him, and he was like taking this thing off to the water fight. And I said, "Okay, there's 3 rules." He said, "What are the rules?" I said, "Number 1, you don't squirt anyone in the face. This water comes out really fast and really hard. If you're close, you can hurt somebody. Don't squirt anyone in the face. If you think you're going to squirt someone in the face, stop squirting them. And when they run away, squirt them in the back."
Yeah.
Okay. So rule number 2 is you don't squirt anyone who's not in the water fight. So if somebody's sitting nearby and the person you're squirting runs over by somebody who's not in the water fight, you stop squirting them. You don't get people who aren't in the water fight wet. Okay. I said, no, rule number 3. Yeah. This is really important. Okay. Most important rule of all. Don't ever, give the gun to the girls.
Oh, wow. That's harsh.
So he comes back about a half an hour later and he's drenched from head to toe, gasping for breath. Tells me, "The girls got the gun."
Of course they did. Of course they did. Of course. So John Hudson, the internet. I'm sorry to hear that. What I've discovered that when I plug in, I used to do these shows with just Wi-Fi, but now, you know, I plug in and that makes my internet less bad. That helps. Dave, Tobin says, "I'm the opposite of Dave. If you're in my pool, you got to be able to get a squirt in the face." You know, I'm not going to comment on that, Tobin, because that could be read a couple of different ways.
There's certain times when that's justified.
Yeah.
When it's consensual.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a job interview tomorrow.
Oh.
Yep. I have a job interview that is within walking distance of my house.
Oh, that's always nice.
And which has a bit more money. Like I said, I don't need a lot of money to live on, but I do need more than what I'm doing now. So it's potential. It's got potential. That's what it does.
Yeah. And this is is this a 1 day a week thing, or is this a regular gig, or?
This would be actually like a 40-hour a week. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere from 30 to 40 hours a week.
Because I know in that like healthcare, home care business, there are people who need somebody once a week, twice a week, or every day, or it varies person to person and need to need. Right.
Well, this is the thing, is that I am in a spot that I have like maybe 20 resumes out or 20 job applications out, and that might be a low number. And so and I just it's a wide net. That's what I'm saying. It's a wide net. And so this particular job is actually being a cook at like a restaurant. And because I have culinary experience, would I still be working with people with disabilities? Yeah, I'd still be having 2 jobs. Don't get me wrong. But and in fact, if anyone knows me for an extended period of time, I've had 2 or 3 jobs most of my life, most of my adult life. So this would be working in a kitchen for all intents and purposes.
I didn't know you had this culinary experience.
Yeah, I worked in a couple of hospital kitchens, some restaurants. I have a culinary degree, an associate's degree, and
Oh,
so I do have some. I have knife skills. I can cook meat, though I do not. Though I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah. I
Gary
can
Freeman.
cook seafood, although I don't enjoy it.
Oh yeah. I know how to cook fish. I mean, it's all that stuff. So it'll be interesting. So that interview is tomorrow, and I'll report in on Friday. Tell you
Nice.
how it went.
I have a very good friend of mine who went to quite a reputable culinary artistry school right in downtown Vancouver.
Mhm.
And he did very, very well at it and moved that into a career of kind of doing the same thing, working in a care facility kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And he upped the level of their food significantly. But years after he was there, boy, I think it might have been 7 or 8 years after he was there, my company did a team building exercise, and they took us there for, let's go to this very famous kitchen and work with this very cool chef, and we'll break out into teams of 3 and we'll make different dishes, and we'll eat and compare and do the whole thing and enjoy there's a restaurant attached. So it was a really cool team building experience. So I happened to be near the head chef, and I said to him, "Oh, do you remember a student from about 10 years ago?" Gave him his name. And he's like, "Yeah, I totally remember him. Are you friends with him? Give him my number. Get him to give me a call."
Oh, cool.
I was like, haha, I know somebody.
You know someone. You know a person.
Yeah, I remember like when you work as a longshoreman, there's a giant lunchroom full of people in the morning when you're getting dispatched and sorted out and all that, and everybody's having coffee and getting their day together and all that. And I remember the very first time somebody recognized me in the lunchroom after, you're getting sporadic shifts here and there, and you don't know too many people, and some of the people have been there 15, 20 years, and somebody walks in and recognizes me and goes, "Hey, working again, eh?" And I'm like, "Oh, somebody recognized me."
Well, and someone recognized you in a positive way.
Well, yeah.
It wasn't like someone who had beef with you.
No.
I don't. Have I told you the story how I got I believe I was mistaken for Keith Dalton, Mr. Deity.
Sorry, who?
Mr. Deity, Keith Dalton.
No, I am unfamiliar with this person.
Really talented guy, filmmaker. Mr. Deity was really big about maybe 5 or 10 years ago. He's had Richard Dawkins on. He plays basically L. And it's a funny bit. If you look at Mr. Deity, if you look on YouTube.
After the show, people, don't be running away.
Right. So I was, and this is a true story. So this is a previous girlfriend post-divorce. And we were going to what was it? I think it was the Reason Rally. That's right. The second Reason Rally. And that had to have been around.
Can you put a decade, 2 decades ago? Where was this timeline?
This was the Reason Rally in Washington, D.C., and it had to have been about 4 years ago.
Oh, okay, not that long ago.
Not that long ago. So, and funny thing, this was our. I was trying to get back into her good graces at this point, because she had broken up with me, and I kind of said, "Hey, maybe you should reconsider Andy, right? Maybe we should
Andy
go
version 2.0.
Yeah, Andy version. Yes, Mr. Deity is still making content too. He is, yes, and he's actually been on the Naked Dine podcast before too. We had a great conversation with him. The Way of the Master, The Way of the Mister. That's right. That's his video series, still under the name Mr. Deity.
Mr. Deity, yeah.
So
there you were convincing this bride to be.
Yeah, she was the one, Dave. She was the one who I co-signed the
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
and everything, So so we get to the hotel where the convention's being held, or where most people are staying for the Reason Rally, and I'm getting crap out of my trunk, and this woman comes up to me and she goes, "I love your work. And then she goes to my girlfriend. You are so lucky to have him. Gives me a big hug, and then stumbles back into the crowd. And I'm trying to play this off like I'm like totally chill, like, yeah, just a fan, right? Because the glasses, when you look at Mr. Deedy, when you look at Dalton, right? He and especially with my old glasses, my square glasses, there is a white guy, middle-aged guy kind of resemblance. And this woman who did this, and maybe my girlfriend at the time thought this was a plant, or if I had schemed this up.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, wow, that just came out of the blue. But I figured out later she must have thought I was Brian, Dalton, Mr. Deity, because no one, I was only blogging at the time. No one knew what I looked like.
Yeah. Well, we all look alike.
Yeah, well, there's a similarity. What's up, Grant Farmer?
Yeah, I woke up.
Just
woke up. Nice. That's always a positive. I mentioned that earlier. Step 1, wake up and live. Step 2, coffee.
Yeah.
And so I noticed Gary asked a question in the chat. I want to know what your favorite dish to cook is, Andy.
No, I don't know. It's I haven't done a lot of cooking.
Or style? Is there do you prefer barbecue, or is there a
boil? I did a fair amount of barbecue when I was a homeowner, and during those dark years of my 30s and early 40s, I had a lot of parties with a lot of people showing up.
Nice.
And so pocket pies, like the fried up pocket pies, ribs. Yeah, they're just like fruit pies, basically. Handmade fruit pies. You make the pastry, you throw I've made pies. I made a great chili, to tell you the truth. I did, yeah. And now the place that I'm going to be interviewing for, we have ordered from before, the girlfriend and I, and they do good food. It's all fresh, it's all nice. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna bone up on the menu before I go in for the interview tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And try to sound like I know what I'm doing.
Just try not to make any really fucking weird salad. Nobody needs weird salad.
Well, is there one that I would cook, to impress someone? That's a good question, Gary Priestley. It all matters who the person is, right? Yeah. It all matters who the person is. The last thing you want to do is to cook something that the other person is allergic to, or that, a vegetarian, or they might be. I'll tell you this. I took a girl out on a first date who happened to be, I didn't know that she was gluten intolerant, but we went to a beer festival. It was Oktoberfest. That was a mistake.
Yeah. That can be a little tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to try my 3 cheese dip? Oh, I'm lactose intolerant.
No, that's the problem. Yeah.
I have a couple of things that I make fairly regularly, but they're things that I like, and I make them the way I like to make them, and other people seem to like them. So I usually say, do you eat steaks? Do you prefer chicken? Do you have like a thing, that you like?
Yeah.
I've been told I make very, very good pork chops on the barbecue.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I've had my friends over off season, like nothing was going on, and we did like a giant turkey dinner just to have the non-holiday turkey dinner, and that went over really good. Turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, salad, the whole gravy, everything, and it was quite lovely.
I've done this lamb shanks shepherd's pie, because my in-laws at the time were Scottish. And so, I just braised these lamb shanks for a while. I shredded them up and threw them in a shepherd's pie. That was like a slice of freaking heaven, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I make shepherd's pie fairly regularly, and lasagna, because I freeze them, because when you go to work, you never know where you're working, or if there's a restaurant nearby, or if you'll have time to get to it, or if you'll be filthy when you get there. So, I pack up that cooler ready to go every morning, and it's nice to be able to just grab a frozen block of something, throw it in the cooler. If I don't get dispatched, it goes back in the fridge. If I do get dispatched, it goes inside me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when is this you're going? Is it that's later
It's,
this week?
it's like tomorrow, 1:30 in the afternoon. So
Oh, okay.
I have plenty of time. Like I said, I'm working today, and
Yeah.
then I'll just prepare the show for it. Yeah, this will not interfere with the show tomorrow. I can say
Nice.
that. So, and in fact, we'll just go for the full hour tomorrow because I rearranged my regular work schedule too. So instead of just ending this show at 11:30, 10:30,
Right.
go till 11. I haven't tried Beef Wellington, Gary Priestley, but it doesn't look too complicated. It looks like, and I made this really good. What else did I used to make back in the day? I have made, now I forget
Have
the
you
name.
done slow roasted pork?
Oh yeah, sure. That's easy
I
to
haven't
do.
done that, but it's just so easy to get that from other places around here
Sure it is.
that it seems unnecessary to go to all the trouble. But
Yeah.
I make a wicked stew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you can, stew is one of those things that you can just throw in a crock pot and let it go for, hours while you're out. And
Yeah.
it's the benefit, once again, of being able to freeze it, right?
Yeah. And I have a giant cauldron that I make like salsa in and stuff, and so it's pretty easy to make a heap of stew in there. So.
Right. What's easy to do is crepes. You can actually make crepes beforehand, freeze them, and then use them when you want to. I've never done that. I've heard that you can. I've always just made crepes. Y'all making me hungry. I'm sorry, Gary Priestley. But crepes are, believe it or not, it is simple to do, and it is impressive for a lot of people, right? If you make some breakfast crepes or dessert crepes, when I was trying to impress people, that's probably what I would do.
Do you have any good bunny fricassee recipes? Because I have this bunny problem.
You have a bunny problem. So how is the war against the rabbits?
I'm losing badly. I woke up this morning and the damn thing's sitting in the middle of the yard, just roosting or whatever you call it. Here's a picture of him.
Mocking is the word you're looking for.
Mocking me, staring right at me.
Yeah.
It's like, when you wake up and the cat's looking at your face?
Oh, yeah.
Same feeling from this bunny. Just sitting there.
Dave, you're a classic Elmer Fudd.
Classic Elmer Fudd. That's right. So what are you going to share with us?
That's the picture of the bunny. Sitting next to my park bench, staring right at where I stand on the balcony when I'm having my coffee in the morning, just waiting for me to come out.
That rabbit's eyeballing you, dude. That's what that is.
He's a creepy bunny. He may be a jackalope.
A jackal. He has very wee horns. You just can't see it well.
Behind the ears, yeah.
Right. Well, they're switchblades, right? So they can just pop out at any time.
But there's 3 of them that are always I shouldn't say always. They're regularly at dusk. They come over and visit the yard, and I wake up in the morning and I don't know that they've stayed overnight, but they seem to have made themselves comfortable with coming and going as they please.
Well, you got some free range rabbits there.
Yeah.
And they're there to get your precious strawberries.
The strawberries have been decimated by the bunny rabbits. They're just starting to come back now and flower out again. But they weren't trampled. They were just nibbled to death. Yeah. And they ate them all, like even the green ones, right?
Yeah.
Something wrong with them bunnies. Too many pesticides in the lawns, I think.
Right. Careful, it's not a Jabberwocky. You have to get your Vorpal blade there out, Gary Priestley going snicker snack.
You can see me dressing up in all the hockey gear with the umpire's mask.
Oh, sure.
Well, went out there. So.
Yeah. My dad used to have cold frames. He was a big gardener. Of course, the cold frames were only used during the inclement weather early in the season, I believe.
Yeah.
Before he took it out and put them into the yard proper. But we didn't have too many. I would think it's impossible for a rabbit to get into a cold frame because it's self-enclosed and everything. But,
those things can kick really hard, and if they throw their body at one of those, they'll go right through the plastic. They'll knock the wood. If it's just wood sticks that it's constructed out of, yeah.
Yeah, they're powerful creatures. That's what they are.
Well, I mean, I live in a neighborhood where we have coyotes and raccoons and hawks, bald eagles, and these things are obviously not babies. They're
Yeah.
they're running around, so they've lived a healthy life out there in the wild, and they don't seem to be afraid of people. I don't think they're afraid of predators at all.
Which just makes you wonder if you have all those predators running around.
Oh,
How
I see them. I see them all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I live very close to a green belt and a watershed, so
Okay.
I'm kind of off one side, but in between the two. So yeah, they're
Right,
they're all
right.
over here.
Sure. Yeah, we have we have something similar, except it's with rats. There are a lot of rats, and I love talking about my city, Somerville, because it's probably the most liberal city in Massachusetts. But I'm not going to lie to you. In this section of Somerville, there's a rat problem.
I was standing in the parking lot after Blood Club with with Randolph and Neil. We're standing in the parking lot, and the three of us are just kind of chatting afterwards. And out of the corner of my eye, I see something skitter across the parking lot. And I look over, and I look at Neil, and I'm like, "Was that a?" And he says, "A rat. Yeah, that was a big rat."
Rats. Once you recognize how rats move, right? They're weird, way that they run. It's like, oh yeah, they're very easy to identify.
Yeah.
So what? So Neil, just bouncing back, big blood clot in the leg, huh?
Well, his legs swelled up, so I don't know the ins and outs of what's going on, but they've put him on some stuff to handle it, and hopefully he'll rebound quickly. I know how much the idea of giving blood, especially considering how many times his father Frank did. He takes a great measure of pride and honor in being able to give blood, and I know that it's got to be. I mean, you worry about your health first, but that's definitely in the back of his head. Like, oh, this is one of the things I really love doing, and it's good for people that, whoever it is that's in need, I can help them. And, he's kind of had that taken away from him for the moment. Hopefully this is just a temporary thing that goes away and he'll be back in the swing of things quickly. So,
well, how often can one give blood?
I think it's every 60 days for women and every 56 for men in Canada. I know it's different country to country and stuff like that. It also depends on your body mass, and everybody's physiology is slightly different. So they always err on the side of caution. In the military, it was pretty much as needed.
Oh yeah.
As long as you were hydrated and well fed, you could give blood.
Okay.
That's kind of the way it went in the olden days. Nowadays, I think everybody who can give blood in the Canadian military actually gets scheduled to do that.
Oh, okay. So it's really an opt-out kind of program.
Yeah. If there's a religious or medical reason, I think you can opt out. But
Sure.
For me, I just hate needles.
Sure.
Really do not like needles at all. And my mother tricked me into giving blood the first time when I was 28 years old. And I'm an O positive donor, so I can donate to a lot of people.
Well, that's a universal donor.
O positive or O negative. I'm the one that's it's not a universal donor, but it's close to it.
Okay.
O negative. Yeah. So, she said, you need to go give blood, and basically took me to the clinic, and it kind of forced me. But since then, I realized, I've been stung by a bee, and I've been mountain biking and accidentally ridden into a very sharp bush.
Yeah.
Or thistles or something like that. It's no worse than that. Right. I've banged myself here and there, getting a little poke in the arm and sitting there for 5 minutes with a little bag filling up that I don't have to watch any of it.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? Not watching.
Yeah.
We're not watching it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gary Priestley, I guess must be quoting Neil. Next 3 months, he's going to be on the blood thinner. And
Yeah.
that means not being able to donate blood for another 4 to 5 months. And it's a large blood clot too. So.
Yeah.
Theo says he's
Well,
awesome.
his leg did. Negative. Yeah. Yeah, his leg did swell up. I didn't see it, but
Yeah.
I know he's been he's been having issues with mobility, and I know it's been bothering him for a bit. So it must have gotten to the point where he said, "Okay, I got to go get this checked out." Because you know how men are with the doctor. Even in Canada, where you just go there and they sort your shit out, right? Men are still men, and they still go, "Oh, I got this. I'll be fine. Just a flesh wound."
Well, the thing, and once again, I know I talked about this yesterday about how skepticism has helped me stay, for lack of a better word, not crazy, sane, right? Because
Somebody clip that.
Yeah. Because you may not notice this, but I have a bit of a hypochondriac kind of thing going on in my personality. This streak, this trait, and I've learned that maybe I don't need to go to the doctor all the time, and so really rare events turn out to be really rare events. So there's a lot of watching and waiting to see if it's actually a thing or if it resolves on its own. And 99% of the time, my whatever health issues I may or that I just imagine, they disappear on their own.
Yeah. That's the same for most people. You feel something in you have a day where you're off. What's really interesting is people get spiders and bugs interact with people a lot more than we realize. And while you're sleeping, you can get bit by a spider. And I've had days where I know I'm not 100%. And, later in the day, I'll find on my leg, I have a huge welt from getting a spider bite from either being out in the garden or something got you at some point. Was it Theo? Somebody asked, Theo, has Neil received both vaccine doses? As far as I know, he's received his first one. I don't believe he made it. I think it was coming up soon. I know my second dose is on the 15th, and he was in the same time block within a few days of me of getting his first dose. So he should be coming up to his second. I don't know how this will affect it.
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's a good question. That's something for him to talk to. Being American, I automatically went to lawyer as against a doctor. I don't know. That says something.
Welcome to Massachusetts.
You should really talk to your lawyer doctor about that.
So it's actually true that when you go to the waiting room of a hospital, there's usually a lawyer there.
If not, then maybe you should be bringing one with you. You should have a pocket lawyer with you. I don't know.
Oh, geez.
Pocket lawyer sounds like an interesting product to sell people.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
John Hudson says, I've been using only natural remedies. Yeah. I've discovered that my body interacts differently with medication or with drugs in general now than it did like 20 or even 10 years ago, to tell you the truth. So I'm much more conservative about what I take.
I have a very, very strong reaction to most things that I take, including marijuana and other stuff. It kicks the crap out of me. But the good thing is I broke my collarbone a few years ago. And I took a Tylenol 3, had half a beer, and went out for dinner. Couldn't feel a thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't get them very often, but you know how when you get a migraine headache and you have that lightning bolt go across your eye?
Oh,
I can literally take half of an extra strength Motrin and it goes away.
That's good, Dave.
Yeah. So drugs hit me pretty hard. I have to be careful about what I'm taking and how often. And, every time you get prescribed something, there on the bottle, it will say, max 4 doses or 6 doses per day. And I'm usually around half that. I usually ask the doctor if instead of taking one every 4 hours, should I be taking half of one every 2 to 3 hours?
Right. Right.
And sometimes it's not okay because of the coating on it. They don't want it getting in your mouth or your throat. They want it in your stomach. So you have to be careful about that sort of thing. But your doctor or pharmacist should be able to help you with that. Don't read on the internet what you should do with drugs. That's not a good source for information.
No.
Unless you're on Dr. What is that, WebMD or whatever, where you actually interact with. There's a Canadian site where you can actually video conference with a doctor.
I thought you were going to talk to, unless you're going to talk to Dr. Kennard about that.
Oh, well, that's a terrible source of information. I wouldn't trust that. I trust him almost as far as I can throw him.
Harsh words. What are you going to say, Grant?
Dr. Kennard is better than Dr. Oz, though.
Oh, well, I'll tell you that. Yeah. Dr. Oz just wants to sell you crap.
Dr. Oz is the epitome of a guy who absolutely pulled every brick out of the wall of his reputation for money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 And you know how, I always go back to that Tolstoy short story about how much land does a man need. It's a story about a person basically dying from trying to grab too much land at one time. A story of greed. And how much money do you need when you're being a grifter, right? I guess if you're a grifter, you're in it for the grifting as much for the money. I think that's what it is.
Well, I also think there's a snowball effect to that too. When you start grifting, you don't expect to become, so famous. Do you think Mike Lindell started selling pillows because he thought he'd be selling pillows for 20 years? Or do you think he thought, this will pay off my house and then I can get out of this and do something legit?
At no point did I think Mike Lindell would ever think I'm going to go legit. I was listening to the latest episode of Mark Maron's podcast, and Danny Trejo was the guest. Danny Trejo, he's the classic face in Machete and a variety of other.
And he was on the Masked Singer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, he was terrific. Yeah.
So he was explaining how when he was an active addict, he was doing a lot of breaking and entering, and it became at a certain point, you did breaking and entering for your drug habit, but you did the drugs because you liked doing breaking and entering too at the same time while being high. And so I think that's what it is with grifting. It isn't just the money. People just love the grift.
Yeah. It is the chase.
Just like the feeling. Yeah. People just love doing it.
Yeah. I mean, early in my life, before I learned some lessons, I was a carny.
Oh, yeah.
And my job was to extract money from people in exchange for, even if they won, I was still making money.
Well, those are the best games to run, right? It's the heads I win, tails you lose.
And not to point anybody out for being a gigantic loser, but how can you fail in a casino? People come there, give you their money, and leave. Yeah. I like Gary Priestley's medical diagnosis there. A severe reaction.
Gary Priestley says, I have a severe reaction to exercise. I suffer shortness of breath, break out in a sweat, elevated heart rate, nausea. Yeah, it's horrible, Gary Priestley. I too am. I have some kind of allergic reaction to exercise.
That sounds a lot like my work some days.
Well, Dee Parks, actually, I'm not telling tales out of school. My girlfriend, she has a friend that got into a marriage. I mean, she was about to be diagnosed with cancer, one of my girlfriend's friends. And this is back in the day. And she was in a long-term relationship already with her boyfriend. And the doctor just told her, listen, you're without insurance. You have to go marry that guy. And you got to go marry him right now, like today. And then you come back here and then we'll start your treatment. So there are insurance-based marriages here in the States. There's no doubt about that.
There was a study into that, and it's a staggering number. But she says into a sane country. Is Dee in the United States? I'm just assuming, but
I believe Dee's in the States. Yeah.
In America, mind you, I hate grouping all of my American friends into that one cluster F of nonsense and idiocy. Not everybody's like that. It's only it's like the earth. We have the whole earth, And then there's that tiny little bit on the outside where people live that represents about 30% of the outside of the earth. So the whole earth isn't effed. It's just that little area. And the United States is like that too. Not all of Florida is a mess, and not all of Texas is crazy. And, there's a lot of guns down there. I get it. Yeah. But if there's, you live in a country where that little skin on the outside is covered in guns, maybe it's not a bad idea to have an AR-15 under the bed.
That makes it, if anything the science tells us is that our base intuitions about many things are wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also says a lot about the human psyche, how it can be manipulated like that, and how it's easier, and this is factual, it's been out there before, but it is easier to pull a knee-jerk reaction out of somebody than to actually convince them of something.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. It's as well, grifters know that it's easier to manipulate someone than to actually get them to think about something, right? To show the work, right?
There is definitely, you learn a lot as a carny about reading people, and I don't want to say manipulating them now, but reading them and finding a way that works to invite them to participate with you.
Right.
And when you see a guy walking by with a girl, you almost have to challenge the guy. Like, here's a game that you can't possibly lose at, right? And his girlfriend looks at or you hold up the teddy bear and say, win one of these for your girlfriend. Look at the smile on her face. Doesn't she get her one of these? And you're pulling on that string, right? All day long. If you see a girl with two guys, you already won. You already won. Which one of you guys is going to win her the bear, right?
Right.
Oh, give me, here's $100. Give me the bear. Yeah.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When you're trying to argue for something, it's actually a lot easier to argue for something if you don't restrict yourself to telling the truth. Oh,
for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of the big problems with a lot of this.
I just want to promote for a minute something not my own work. It is the Free Thought Prophet, Seamus, of course, who comes on this channel for Atheists Drinking Out Loud. He and John Hamill did a really good podcast episode that I listened to yesterday, and it was all about the Non Sequitur show and the Steve and Kyle ongoing drama. And if you want to hear something about groupthink within the atheist community, then that is a good episode to listen to. I believe they also have a YouTube channel, but Free Thought Prophet. And I did want to promote Seamus, not because he's on this show and we are friends, but I listened to the episode and I thought, wow, what a interesting analysis of how groupthink affects some major thought leaders.
And there is a gravity to both sides. Like when the leader says something that steps out of line with the group and the group pulls away from that definitely is one of the effects that voting and other things have on leaders in our communities and in our government. But that tool, I don't want to call it a weapon, but that tool that the people have to decide who's in power and what they get to do, it's underplayed by those people in power.
Yeah.
Right? They want to diminish the value of that in comparison to their stance. And they do a very effective job of that. Yeah. But when they hit a certain point, the people revolt. And there's a pullback. There's a gravity on both sides of that. So
that's a good point.
For the crazy conservative movements, it's leaders are basically riding the bull, They
Well,
not in control of the situation, but they're trying to go with wherever it's going.
they are writing it and feeding it at the same time, which creates chaos. All right, it's an hour. I got to roll, everyone. Going to be doing the same crazy thing tomorrow. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Grant. Thanks, chat. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.